Hello and welcome to Comically Incompetent. My name is Doug. This is a podcast where we take a movie and then we take a beer that's named and or make ties in with that movie and we talk about it. This week we have a beer called Galaxy by Octupi Brewing, so I'll talk about that more at the end of the show. And this week we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, continuing the MCU in Review series. To talk about that with me this week is my good buddy Kris. Kris, how you doing?
I'm doing. Oh, I was gonna do a wave, and I was like, should I do a thumbs up? And I like came in between. Yeah. I was like, this. I'm a little this up and down. I mean, you know,
it works. It works.
As a Giants fan, I guess I a little up and down, but.
How you doing, bud?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm feeling really good about this movie. You know, I feel very honored. You know, you have me on again. I do appreciate that every time you do have me.
Yeah. So, you're always welcome on the show.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
I'm interested in what you think about this, because this movie is, I think, probably the most fun of all the Marvel movies. Like, it's not in the best, but it's the most fun. Like, it's such a blast to watch this movie.
Oh, it definitely is, and it definitely is. You know, it doesn't set the trend. It's in the same trend as the first movie, right?
Yeah.
Like the first movie was so fun as well.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty much I forget when the release was, but it was definitely during the time of like Chris Pratt was definitely popular or whatnot.
Yeah,
and, You know, so like it's like all right, that movie is definitely like a little like good feels or whatnot. You know, soundtrack or whatnot was awesome. I was actually curious if they're gonna do the same thing in this movie. You know, about with the soundtrack. The soundtrack was a huge part of the first movie. I'm not gonna say like Iron Man, same thing as Iron Man 1, but like it definitely was a big part of it. But like this is definitely a big part of the character or whatnot, obviously too or whatnot. I mean, it's kind of funny saying that, I guess, because Iron Man's the name of a song or whatnot. But like with the cassette tape and all that crap, there's actually like linkage to Star-Lord's character and music, right?
No, I give you because I feel like in Iron Man, the music is a great add-on to the movie, whereas I feel like the music in Guardians of the Galaxy movies are like almost a character in themselves.
Yeah. And
they're so important to even just the story, like the way that James Gunn writes it, the music has to make sense with what's happening. It just can't be like a cool song that kind of like works in the background. Like the music in these movies are so like front and center.
Yeah.
And it makes it so much better, I think, especially because they're classic songs. They're like 80s, 70s, 60s music that just kind of like span like some of the greatest like decades of music ever.
It's just like it's just like feel good music. Like the whole time
exactly.
I'm just like I felt like warm watching the movie the whole time. I just felt nice and fuzzy. I mean, obviously there's some parts where you're like, oh, but like it was like it was definitely a lot of emotion captured in the soundtrack. So James Gunn did a great job on that. And
I mean, even starting out with we have this scene where we got to see young Kurt Russell.
Yes,
which was cool. But as far as the music goes, the scene after that where we get to see the Guardians for the first time, starting out the movie with Mr. Blue Sky by ELO, like that song was so cool. I love that song for that scene. And then with Baby Groot dancing to it and everything.
Oh, it was awesome. That intro scene was like, it was incredibly long, and it was exactly what it needs. Like I wanted it longer almost. You know, I mean, it was perfect. It was so. Visually, it was awesome. There was like a lot of like just the character elements or whatnot with Batiste. It was Dax. That's the name.
Drax,
right? Drax. I call him Dax. But yeah, there's so many like cool elements in the intro or whatnot, and and it's like again all ties in with soundtrack, and it's a huge plus when you're going into the movie not knowing what's going on. You're like, all right, I'm definitely gonna have a good time, going by this right now.
Yeah, so you've been catching up with the Marvel movies. How did this, like... Because the Guardians of the Galaxy movies are the only ones that, at this point, are kind of removed from everything that we know so far. Yeah. Do you like having those kinds of, like, jump in and, like... Because I remember when I was going through them and watching those that were coming out, it felt weird at first because they felt so, like, disjointed from the rest of everything. Because when you go into a Marvel movie, usually, you're ready for that next step. You're like, where are we taking all these heroes? Where are we getting to the villain? And then this kind of seems so out in, like, left field. Comparatively, do you get that same vibe when you're watching these, or like?
I actually don't. The vibe that I get is actually like, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but it's a disconnection in a way that I feel like needs to be kind of necessary for the break in the universe that's still connected.
Yeah.
Because it's so big, it's so vast, everything's coming at you, all these stories, bing, bam, bam, all this coming together, but like. This clip is not like fully separated. I mean, there's just Thanos' children are in this. There's a reason for this being in the universe. So you have that that's overhanging obviously, and that's in a good way. And it's like okay, but it's not like so, confined to that element where it doesn't have an independent, identity.
Yeah.
It does its own thing. It's awesome. I think it really that's the battle that movie's probably was gonna have, or just the Guardians of the Galaxy were gonna have, and so I don't know. I felt both like I felt awesome going, watching this movie and the first one.
Yeah.
It is really cool in that element.
Yeah, I mean, this movie, I was so excited to see it, and just seeing, like, I loved how much, like, Drax was in this one, and he's just, like, hysterical in this movie. We got, like, a lot more of, like, the funnier side of him, and not, like, the serious, like, nothing goes over my head kind of guy. And I like seeing him. You learn more that he's kind of an ass. Like, he doesn't mean to be, but he's still kind of an ass.
It's just his nature,
It is, yeah.
It just seems to, I mean, you kind of always knew that, right? Going into it, it's like, but it kind of seems like that friend that was in the friend circle that now feels really comfortable and now is able to kind of really
kind of let loose
colors.
A little bit. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a beautiful butterfly. Something like that. But I have a question real quick before we just maybe sidetrack, because we were talking about the music or whatnot. We don't have to get too far into it. I noticed in one scene, you see like the name of the mixtape. I forget what the name of it, but whatever the name is, Volume 2.
It's like Awesome Mix Volume 2 or something like that.
Yeah, in the first one, was it Awesome Mix Volume 1, or was it always Volume 2?
I think it was just like called Awesome Mix.
Okay.
And then when she was dying, she made him Awesome Mix Volume 2.
Okay. See, that I was just like one element. I kind of just like I was like, I feel like I probably touched, and
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you on that one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, because when we end Guardians 1, he opens up the new mixtape, which then it's like, oh, it leads into a new movie, it sets it up.
Yes.
Whereas this one, there's no third mixtape, but there's still Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 coming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I wonder how if they're gonna have new music and how they're gonna tie that in, because I think that's what people expect from these movies, is the music.
It's just like a great soundtrack to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like it's not pigeonholed, but I mean in a good way. It's like it's like you deliver 2 out of 2. I feel like, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
So like let's go for 3 out of 3. It's
yeah.
That's what they're probably gonna have the mindset with.
Yeah, and I think, skipping ahead, we'll come back, but like I just want to talk about let's talk about the music. I love how much they made, like we were talking about the music as a character, like how Brandy was like such an important part of this song, that like of the movie, that song, because like that's kind of where Peter and his father kind of like, he has that scene where Ego's like talking the lyrics to Brandy to him.
Yes. It was very like it was. I mean, it wasn't like it was awesome. I mean, in a good in an element in their relationship or whatnot. To see that, because obviously the song came up, or time and time again or whatnot. And, and you're like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah. Well, do you want to jump back to the beginning? So they had that fight at getting the to protect the Harbulary, or I just know what Drax calls the batteries, Harbulary batteries.
Aren't they called like auxiliar or something like that?
Yeah, and Drax is like Harbulary batteries.
It's so great.
And so I was like, that's not at all what I said.
No, his character, honestly, one of the like notes that I wrote down somewhere in here, I was really like happy with the way they kind of developed like Drax's character, and just honestly, I mean, really just like that was a huge part of the Guardians of the Galaxy that I really enjoyed, is that they were like, it's obviously about Chris Pratt's Star-Lord character, and in the main way, and so it's very easy to maybe like, I mean, well, I don't know the comic books too much, but it definitely, coming from a someone who doesn't know too much, but watching the first movie, it seemed like he's the main character with his friends, but it wasn't like, it didn't seem like that in a bad way. Like you were interested by their side, that their stories individually. Like Drax, Drax's development was awesome. Xandu's development was awesome. Gamora's. There's a lot of like development in the side characters that are actually has like a weight, a wholeness to it, and you're like, all right, this is actually pretty well put together. Like, I don't just care about Star-Lord. I care about everyone. Sprocket. Groot. It's a very interesting. I feel like it was very hard to do, and they did it pretty well in both movies. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I was talking about it when I did the first Guardians with Grayson. I feel like Rocket Raccoon is actually one of the most well-developed characters in the entire Marvel Universe. I think he's got one of the best arcs, from being just like pushing everyone away before they can push him away and hurt him, to becoming a character that is slowly starting to like really actually love these people as family.
Yeah.
And you see how much he loves them, and just how he's changing over these movies, and kind of learning like I shouldn't just be an asshole, because he admits he's like, I'm an asshole. Yeah, he knows he's like, I should stop. And then like just the way they grow, and even and I feel like it's interesting the way you're talking about character arcs. I feel like Groot's arc kind of goes backwards. Like we have like in the first one the finished Groot product of like this caring, amazing being who will sacrifice himself for his friends, and then we go back to Baby Groot and has to start all over again in this movie. Because Baby Groot is ridiculous in this movie. He's love him.
He's so cute. Yeah, I mean, it's like, and it's obviously that's how it's made. Because even like the villains, like when they were like all locked up, they're like, should we like? I think they should. Can I smash him? And then like, what's his name?
Taserface.
Taserface. Somewhere he's going. Someone remembers my name. You know. He's like, you can't do it. He's too cute. He can't.
I love it. He's my favorite scene in this movie is a Baby Groot scene when we'll get into it later, but we'll talk about it later. I don't want to jump right to it. Okay. So the first thing they're trying to, I seriously don't remember the name. They're trying to protect the Harbulary batteries. I'm just gonna call them Harbulary batteries.
Yeah. Let's go with Drax's.
Oh, Annulax batteries.
Annulax.
They're called Annulax batteries. And so this is the first time we meet the Sovereign, which is a race of golden people for some reason.
Very interesting set of people. I mean,
yeah. Because I don't know we're on even ground here. I don't know anything about the Guardians of the Galaxy comics. These are ones that very few. This is the only group when they announced Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, I don't know who the fuck these people are.
Isn't that like a lot of people felt that way when they came out? I mean, even obviously the hardcore fans knew of them, but even like the more casual hardcore borderline fans, they were like.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
These guys, or like these guys don't deserve. Wasn't there like kind of like these guys don't deserve like a movie kind of?
It was a little weird, maybe. Like I remember people were like, "Why? There's so many other heroes you could be doing. Why are we focusing on these like kind of nobodies?" But, I mean, I thought they were amazing. I mean, I know the one thing I do know about them is that these aren't the original Guardians of the Galaxy from the comics. There was a different group which. I think Sylvester Stallone plays the original like Star-Lord character in the comics.
Okay.
And so that's like a reference to that, but
okay.
That's I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. On Twitter, Instagram, ComicallyPod. Let me know if I'm comically incompetent enough and a fucking idiot.
Give us some insight, please. Like, that's definitely an interesting point.
Yeah, I would love to know about that. But so they meet the Sovereign and Priestess Aisha, who is trying to get some Star-Lord for herself. She's making moves on him. She's like, I would like to learn the ways of procreation. And he's totally, he loves it.
He's game. I mean, he's like, all right. And Gamora's sitting there like, okay, you're game, huh?
Yeah, 'cause they're not a thing yet, but they're pretty much a thing at the time.
Yeah, it's unspoken. Right?
It's an unspoken thing, exactly.
Yeah, it's an unspoken thing. So there you go.
How does he describe it in the later in the movie? He says like, what's the name of the guy from Cheers? He describes it as like the characters from Cheers, Sam and Diane.
Yes. I wasn't a fan of Cheers, so I didn't like it. That reference was kind of like a little over my head. But I mean, I know about Cheers obviously or whatnot, so it was kind of like, it was funny. It was definitely funny.
I also love Rocket in the scene because he completely insults them and they almost kill him. But then, I love that scene. I love he's like, you guys aren't dicks. And they're just like, looking at him, he's like, oh, that was supposed to be behind your back. I'm sorry.
Those scenes where he's like, oh, the wrong eye winking. So good. That's what Rocket everyone was really funny in this movie. But like, it wasn't just funny. It was good emotion. It's good emotional. Like, this was my last point. Like, I don't have to read it off the card. But it's like, when I felt like after the movie, this movie was an emotional ride in a great sense. It was like, and not at all what I expected. It was like, damn, okay, this is really fun.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's some lines in this movie that I know hit home for like a lot of people. Like I know, or it's just skipping to one line toward the end is when Yondu says he may be your father, but he ain't your daddy.
Yes.
Like I know those lines, like that line can hit hard for some people who may not, he may have been raised by someone who's not like a biological father or something like that, and they hit these lines that like these characters that like they're from space and they're aliens. But they have these problems and these lines that are like we can relate to, and I love the way they did that. Like similar problems and similar issues that we could like, and they drew really well into that, making this movie kind of like emotional because you can see the sense of like Gamora and Nebula fighting as sisters, like sibling rivalry. And then you get the scenes of Star-Lord's father, and then the man, but the actual man who raised him, and not like, and that also, I think it's interesting the way they were to pull that kind of stuff out of the movie.
No, it was definitely like. one of the bigger points I've definitely picked up on, especially after watching these two movies, was that this movie did a great job. Well, actually, this movie in particular, because the first movie is obviously like the first movie in any time is like it sets up the role, right?
Yeah.
So the characters and whatnot, and so this movie did a great job of like, all right, characters are set up, and here we go. Here's the launch.
Yeah.
And and so like you were touching upon, which I'm pretty sure is pretty obvious, is like it's a very like alien world, the Guardians of the Galaxy like universe. It's incredibly distant, incredibly interesting. I think it's a really cool modern day like Star Wars. Obviously Star Wars is modern, but like if Star Wars was like hip and cool,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Kind of like a cyberpunk, world almost, something like that. But or a mix of other elements or whatnot. Obviously, it's really cool. And no, so you can easily, I guess, get lost in the fact that there's no human elements, right?
Yeah.
And it can easily detach from the human elements, but like you're touching upon, there's a lot of individual stories in the movie itself, which are big. Where like you said, Yondu's his quote when they were like in the little space, or when Star-Lord was in the spacesuit, Yondu was clearly not. That hit home for me. I mean, that made me tear up a little bit. Like, there's a lot of that. When Yondu's talking to Rocket about being who you are, accepting who you are, and it was like there's a lot of that, and it's really deep, and it's something that like this movie could have easily separated from, and I think the main overarching part of the story, which included the relationship between Chris Pratt's character and his father, was like it was just so simple, so human.
Yeah.
And Chris Pratt had a little bit of like human nature, which kind of put him in a bad situation where he got caught up because he saw this all power. And it's kind of like, what would you do if you had all this all power? A lot of people kind of just do the same thing Chris Pratt did. Just look at it and be like, ooh, his eyes wide open. It's like it was a very interesting take in that regard, and I really really like that. I really like that, and I don't think that was an accident. I really think that was like supposed to be in your face, like, yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's how James Gunn just writes these stories, and like how he does his writing is creating something that on like the surface level is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. When you look past that surface level, there's something deeper and there's something more that people can relate to and pull from.
Oh yeah.
And all jokes aside, I mean, he wrote Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed, and there's so much that you can pull, so much like emotionality that you can pull out of this movie.
These viewers don't know, Doug. These viewers don't know.
They do. I have mentioned Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed on this show at least 6 times. I can guarantee that.
I must have missed it on the.
I bring it up. I bring it up a good amount. But back to the movie, we get our introduction of Mantis, which I love. Mantis. She's ridiculous and innocent, and like just this like child in this like grown woman's body of like alien. It's just alien's body. She's fantastic.
No, she's great, and then her relationship with Drax obviously is it's cute. It's like, let's be honest, it's funny obviously. Clearly, but like their relationship's definitely funny because they balance out in a weird way.
Yeah.
Of, like not feeling emotion but having emotion, and then it's like I don't know.
And like he cares for her, like he obviously cares for her, but I think he's always like, oh, you're disgusting, like you disgust me, or like, and he's like, you're a pet. Like you're just but he cares, but like he's just so blunt. He's like, I find you repulsive, and like just like she's so mean, but she's so innocent that she's like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be repulsive. And he's like, no, that's okay. Like I understand.
Yeah, I understand your repulsiveness.
Yeah,
I'm okay with it. It's like,
and what's the line? He's like, it's good to be ugly because people trust ugly people.
That was a nice little quote.
Yeah.
I think that might be like a pretty famous like little quote or something like that. I think I've heard that before.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean it's famous. It seems. I mean, if Drax was the first person to say that, that is beautiful. Let's be honest.
It's a great quote. Which I'm excited to see. So last time you were on the show, I think, was Thor: The Dark World.
Yes.
Which there was not a lot to talk about for that movie.
No, we were talking a lot about scenes and not a lot of dynamic and depth.
Yeah.
Depth, like we are currently. Is very.
A
lot of that in this movie.
That's what's it. That's why I brought it up, because I thought it was funny how before, when we first talked about Thor: The Dark World, you and I were kind of just like, all right, well, this happened, kind of bounced through. But now we're just like, we get to talk about like the good, like the in-depth stuff. So I'm glad you got to be on this show, because I was really hoping your last one would be Thor: The Dark World, because I feel like that's such a lame one to leave on.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate the hand being extended and like, come back on. Like I said, anytime you ask me to be on, I'm always gonna take that opportunity every single time.
Awesome. So what happens next? So we go to Ego's planet, and we kind of learn more about their relationship, and you kind of learn that he's a celestial, which in our first
playing catch.
Yeah, they get to be father and son from that cheesy scene where they're playing catch together.
I loved it, dude. I love it. I love this so much.
I did like this because it's their introduction to Celestials, who are a very big part of the Marvel Universe and a big part of the Eternals. Where the Eternals were, I think, supposed to come out this year, but I think because of COVID, everything got moved around.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see.
I don't know too much about. I don't know anything about the Celestials. I thought, I didn't know that was like another element they're bringing back into the universe.
It's a big thing because there's different groups of things in Marvel. Like, it's so expansive, it's ridiculous. Yeah, and the obviously. Celestials are one group of like he says in the movie, it's like God with a little G. They're gods. Celestials, basically.
With a little G. Yeah.
Because it's interesting that they would just bring in Ego and bring in a Celestial, just kind of almost like off the cuff, just kind of like, oh yeah, here's a Celestial. When in the comics, like, it's a pretty big deal when there's a Celestial involved in something.
Well, it seemed like he was like a very big deal. It seemed like he's a god pretty much. This is a very a god in that universe that was able to do all these separate himself into other planets or whatnot. It was insane. Yeah, he was definitely seemed like to be very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, well, his storyline is that he says he was just all of a sudden alive. And just floating through space, created a planet around himself, created life, and went off into the world which then we learned for nefarious purposes, going to different planets. It's such an interesting, the way they wrote his character. Yeah, the models and everything. Yeah.
Well, the transition from the model, because he shows you first off, he has models of his transition, which was hilarious. He expected, Star-Lord to come in hey, by the way, I want you to go through this and watch my, you
gotta do your, what's it called? Your, I'm blanking on the word. Yeah, like a history lesson.
Well, it's great because it shows him as, was he looking like David Hasselhoff in that,
I think that was on purpose. He kind of dressed a little bit like David Hasselhoff.
Okay. So, in the beginning, you see, the one, the guy's by himself with a girl, and that one, and then I think I'm talking about the pod diagram, whatever. Yeah. And I think it's one of the first ones, and it's clearly Ego. Yeah. In his body or whatnot, and it shows the picture of a girl or whatnot. I don't know who that is.
I think it's Peter's. Oh, the little girl.
Yes, is that Peter's mom by any chance?
The little girl, or the one that he was holding? No, so there's the little girl that's the race from the first Guardians. She's the pink. And then the next one is the one with Meredith, Peter's mom.
Okay. Maybe it was that one, but either way, it opens up and it's he's making love to all.
Oh yeah.
It's it's clearly obviously funny or whatnot, but it's damn, that's pretty shitty.
Yeah.
In your face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that scene where Drax is do you have a penis? And he's yes, Drax, I have a penis. It's not half bad.
Dude, they do so many good I'm phrasing it wrong. They do a great job of doing the little small bits of humor in tucking it in with the serious moments or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's a great little balance that they're able to do in this movie.
Yeah, which I like that. So they bring the Ravagers back in this one pretty heavily. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie is when the Ravagers are coming for Rocket when he's alone at the ship. And he just booby traps the hell out of that forest. I love that scene. He has the thing that the guys are bouncing up and down, you see him from a distance. He's got I love that scene. The music is great. You see him it's ridiculous. I love that scene.
Yeah, well, it's funny too, and not funny, but you're it's emotional because you're crap. This is where Sprocket's gonna get screwed right here. He's not gonna be in a good situation right here. And then you're it really shows how. I mean, we all know he's nifty or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. But hold on, Doug, can you give me 1 second?
Yeah.
On the podcast, because hold on 1 second. Can you hear my roommate vacuuming by any chance?
Not really. No.
Okay, sorry. I just noticed that. I don't know if I don't want to break that up on the podcast.
No,
I'm
you're good. I
sorry.
mean, I don't really hear it. You're good.
Okay, okay. Let's jump back into it. I do want to get that in here.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
you're good. Jump back in where you left off.
yeah. yeah. So, what were we talking about? We're talking about the.
Rocket Booby Trap and how you say he was nifty.
Yeah. So that was awesome. Going into his character because he's obviously gadgets are his thing, right? He's smart.
Yeah.
He's incredibly. So it's cool to see him get himself out of a situation, relying on his own, ingenious or ingenuity.
Yeah.
It's really, it's awesome.
Because we've seen that before with him, kind of. Like, we got to see it when they escaped the prison, the first one. That was his plan of, like, kind of putting things together. But to see him, like, I don't know, he had help in that one to react alone. Maybe he'll do it on his own. Because, like, it shows how smart he is as a character.
Yeah. And that's a big, like I said, big part of his character.
Yeah.
Clearly, it's like not supposed to be just hidden. He's supposed to be, a very intelligent character.
Yeah.
Clearly, with the initial, not fight, but like when him and Star-Lord are like steering or whatnot. And
When they're fighting over control of the ship.
Yeah, clearly they're both like confident or whatnot. And it's like, there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of elements of this movie that I feel like, they're funny or whatnot, but you really take them, you dive deep into them, and they're purposely showing you, like, what this character's about. Like, there's so many times in these, like, I'm not gonna say like, not every movie, it's not a certain movie, but like it's very easy in these like Marvel movies where it's like the main, heroes, doing their thing or whatnot, and they might say something that gets brushed off or whatnot, or not, or it doesn't really impact the story or whatnot.
Yeah.
It feels like everything that is said in this film by every character is supposed to like be like analyzed, where it's like this is like where you're supposed to look at. There's you're supposed to notice this, and it was awesome. It was really cool.
Yeah, and I feel like it does well of like moving. It does such a good job of moving their story forward from the first one and making sure that every character like is given like their moment and we get to see them grow. Like even to Nebula and Yondu, like two characters that aren't Guardians of the Galaxy per se, but they still get their moments of like we get to see the growth. We get to see Nebula.
One is Guardian of the Galaxy. Sorry to cut you off.
No, yeah, one is.
Yes. But yes, gonna do. Yeah, Nebula and Yondu.
Yeah, just seeing her like go from just kind of like this crazy, rage-filled woman to starting to kind of come around. There's some semblance of like understanding where we see that the scene where she could have killed Gamora, like she had her dead to rights, but she didn't do it, and you can see her. And then that heartbreaking line, like you were talking about how it pulls emotion out. That scene where she's like, "I just wanted a sister. Like you wanted to win, or I just want a sister." And like she did such a good job. Like you see her character grow so much, and that's not a character that when you watch the first one you really expect to see her grow and care about her in the end, but like you really do care about her character in this one.
No, you do, and honestly, like I mean, I'll be real with you, like her rage or whatnot is I'm not gonna. It's funny. It's funny to watch how focused. Like it's so typical to what a lot of like maybe some villains in the Marvel universe are pigeonholed to. They're just not actually not a lot of villains, but certain villains, and just there's stereotype of villains, from just in comic books or comics in a way where they're just focused on anger, revenge, or whatnot, and she just fits that where she's like that's all she's about
exactly
like forever, and she's very much about it, and it's like in your face, and she's like like I'm like I'm here to get my revenge, and it's like all right we know this Nebula, and it's obviously again I think it was on purpose because there's so many dynamic characters in Guardians of the Galaxy universe. I think they wanted to have a character that was kind of just like simple, and was able to like kind of like they wanted to do that on purpose because it's kind of like a weird kind of like maybe a joke, like I said, at like the quote unquote stereotype of the bad villain in a movie or whatnot. So it was I think it was really cool. Like you said, at the end you start caring for her, or just you really take an interest in her and Gamora's relationship. Right, like it's just like like you said, like she just wanted a sister, and then Gamora at the end tells her, Gamora tells her, I was just I was a child too. I was just trying to survive, and I was innocent, and I was wrong. I didn't realize, but I just hope you accept me back in a way. It's kind of a, and it was really cool, very cool to see that, because it's like that doesn't have to be that deep. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't feel forced at all either. I didn't like I.
No,
it was really nice. It was really cool. I'm just. And they have a cool backstory. They're Thanos' children, right?
Yeah. No, it's
or
crazy.
quote unquote children or whatnot.
Yeah, adopted children. Yeah.
Forced. So it's
Forced
like
adoption.
Yeah. So me as someone who's watching, the universe unfold, it's like, all right, yeah, this is all separated from the universe, but like that's involved. Obviously the Infinity Stone with Star-Lord's involved. So it's like it keeps my interest in the universe definitely like incredibly piqued.
Yeah, and I feel like this movie, as far as like we're getting toward the end now, we're kind of hitting that final stride of the MCU, and I think this was the first movie to start that like sprint to the finish line. Like this is the first one to start moving us. Like, okay, now we're getting there, because after this we have Spider-Man, Black Panther, Thor, and then we're in the finals. Now we're into Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah,
it's like crazy. It's getting close, and this movie did a good job of kind of giving you that feeling of like we're getting somewhere now. Like this is not just a setup or just a basic sequel. Now we're really pushing for something, because things are starting to get bigger. It's not just like a villain who's kind of a copy of the hero. Now it's a celestial. It's a planet. It's not just like Ironmonger in the first Iron Man, who's just basically Iron Man again. Like this is something things are getting bigger. Problems are getting worse.
Which seems like impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every time, like it's like it can get bigger than this.
Yeah, especially coming off like you and I were talking about how amazing Ultron was.
Yeah.
Like how do you get bigger than Ultron? But then they just keep getting bigger than Ultron.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you realize Ultron is huge, and you realize when you're watching Age of Ultron. I don't want to get too big into it. I do want to focus on it for a little second. Is that it's presented at this big scary. It's on purpose. It's presented as this big scary thing, and it's like so scary. And then you realize, wait, you like snap back into it because you realize, wait, we're on Earth or whatnot, and like, oh crap, I think I was purposely drawn back into here to realize this. Ultron is obviously a villain or whatnot, but he's not as scary. Really, there's like in terms of like the universe or whatnot, like they can. Like a god, a little g, much more. It seems a much bigger problem for the whole universe. Whereas like Ultron was more just a problem for Earth and like and humans or whatnot. And it just seemed like very, very interesting, like how it just kind of keeps going. Up.
I think it's interesting to see the way the Avengers kind of handle those. Like, obviously Ultron's like a big threat still, but the Avengers kind of handle that side of it. Yeah. Like, whereas the Guardians of the Galaxy are handling Celestials, and I mean. Ronan from the first one was a pretty big. He wasn't a god or anything, but he was still like a pretty big villain. He was Kree, I think, and like the dude was nuts. Like the Guardians are dealing with these people who are like raging space like gods, whereas the Avengers are dealing with like a lot of it's kind of problems they create. So I think it's interesting to see that, because I mean Ultron was created by Tony, Ironmonger was created by Tony.
Yeah.
Red Skull kind of came from Captain America in a way. Yeah. Civil War came because they were fighting each other. Like a lot of their problems come from each other, whereas the Guardians just keep getting stuck facing these things that are out of their control.
Which their name is kind of very fitting, right? They're going into the galaxy, right? It's like
Yeah. I lost my train of thought.
no, you're good. Just the Guardians of the Galaxy, and just like how the name is fitting. As they protect the universe, and it's different.
I'm excited to see where they go, because I want to see how they're gonna grow after everything. Because I know you. I mean, obviously you're not caught up, but I'm excited to see the direction that they're gonna bring these characters and how far they're gonna take this series. Because I feel like you could do a whole series of just Guardians of the Galaxy movies easily. Like that could be 6 or 7 movies that I'd still be interested in down the line.
Yeah, and then it all comes back to, I think, what I was saying before, is that they do a great job of making you not only care about Star-Lord, you care about Drax. You care about, Rocket. You care about Gamora. You care about Yondu. You care about all these characters that, like, aren't, quote-unquote, the main character. Where it's just, like, that's I think, really good writing. I don't know if that's like how it was in the comic books, or that's just like how it just wasn't in the movies. So either way, it just like I was really entertained. I was incredibly entertained.
Yeah, I want to jump into my favorite scene in the movie, because I was talking about it earlier. It's the scene where Yondu and Rocket are trapped in the cell, and they need Baby Groot to go get Yondu's fin. I love that scene. It's
just scenes, I guess.
Yeah, it's just like that whole grouping of like it's a prototype fin, and then Groot brings back the underwear. He's like, "That's my underwear." And then my favorite one is when he comes back with a toe. And Rocket's like, "Please tell me you have a drawer filled with severed toes."
And Yandu's like already shaking, like, "No, we don't.
I love that scene. And then when Baby Groot puts on the thing, it's like a hat. And he's like,
"Oh yeah,
you want to wear as a hat? No, not a hat. Oh, good, he hates hats."
And then he gets a description of why he hates hats. I forgot why he hates hats.
It's because like you think someone has a weird shaped head, and they take off their hat, and it turns out it's just a hat.
It just makes them feel comfortable, or you just can't trust them, or something. I don't know what it is.
I don't know. I love that whole scene. I think it's hysterical.
What about the callback to the first movie? I think it's the first movie, where he brings back the eye, the guy's eye,
yeah.
and then Yandu's like, "Oh, put it back," and then Rocket's like, "No." And then Yandu's like, "Why?" And then I'm dying at this point by myself watching that, and Rocket's like, "Because when he wakes up, he doesn't know what's gonna happen.
He's not gonna have his eye." I love that. Rocket's
so
insane, but in like the best way. I love it.
Yeah, no, that was very good. I gotta like, they definitely like adjusted his pitch, or Bradley Cooper's pitch in this.
Yeah.
In these films, because like definitely didn't sound exactly like Bradley Cooper really that much at all.
Yeah, I feel like the first one he was very almost like I mean, you would know better, like some kind of East Coast accent in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, it kind of sounded a little more just like a deeper, kind of gravelly voice.
Yes.
Whereas the first one, he kind of had like I want to say like New York or like.
I sense like a Brooklyn like.
Yeah, like some kind of Brooklyn accent, but like
I was walking the wrong way. Hey, I'm walking here.
Yeah, they kind of toned that down for this one and made it more of like out of, like a deeper, just kind of grab like just like normal, like not. I don't know how to describe it. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
It's more neutral. It's more
neutral. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's more neutral, like accent.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Also, look, we got to talk about that scene where Yondu gets the fin back. That scene where he's killing everyone on the ship with that fin is insane.
It's so awesome. I mean, his power or whatever. I mean, well, it's not really power, I guess, because you see, what's his buddy's name?
Kraglin.
What is it? Kraglin.
Kraglin.
Yeah. So I like that guy a lot.
I like that.
Good heart. Good heart.
Yeah. Do you know that's in real life? That's James Gunn's brother.
Really?
That's Sean Gunn. Yeah.
That is interesting. Very cool element. I like him. But Yondu's arrow is just so ridiculous. It's so
cool, but yeah,
it is really cool. It is exactly. I mean, it's both elements. It's like really cool. It's really like what the hell's going on? It's like by movie 2, you're like, I know what I'm in for.
Yeah,
I know I'm in for. And I'm just like, whoa.
Dude, I wish I could whistle because that's so cool.
His whistle is it is a crisp whistle.
Yeah.
He must have like just chapstick on him just at all times, a little bottle of water just to keep his tongue and lips just perfect amount of moistness. It was just, it's so funny though. It's every time they like but that scene though you're talking about is it's so awesome. Just
even the shot where they're walking on like the catwalk and all the bodies are falling around them, like it's such a cool scene, like the way they did that.
Yes, yeah. Wait, so that was you're talking about that's the same scene, because there's two scenes, or one scene that led into the other, where that happened, and then they got to the control room, right?
Yeah.
Like so
and then they're in the control room doing the same thing.
Okay.
And
so
then,
you're talking about the lead up to the control room.
Yeah.
Kind of yeah. Okay. And then in the control room is like hilarious because they're just wall hacking, just like just like. Someone kick this guy. He's hacking. He's not allowed.
We need the Fall Guys anti-cheat in here.
Yeah. We can do better. I mean, they've been good. Actually.
And I like how we move after that scene. When they're on the ship, they're gonna jump to Ego's planet. And it's like the human body can't take more than 50 jumps, and Rocket's like, I know that. He's like, we're about to do 500, and then just their faces all like. I love that scene.
No, that was great. That was awesome. That was a. It's awesome because I don't know if it was on purpose. I think it was just kind of just how the movie was set up, but I love the bonding that Yondu and Rocket have.
Yeah,
you're right, and it's just funny as hell. Like it just Rocket's arrogance gets them kind of just put in that situation or whatnot. But it's funny. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. What else do you have in your notes? I know you took some good notes. I want to make sure you get everything out.
Yeah, for sure. Let me just take a quick sec. We pretty much touched on a lot of. All right, I have a little funny things I definitely want to talk about.
Yeah, good.
All right. So we talked about how Star-Lord and David Hasselhoff, the whole mother thing.
Yeah.
It's just so funny how he tells Gamora that he thought like how that's released into like at first into the universe, you know, as a viewer, because he's just telling Gamora like just like yeah, I used to tell kids my dad was David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
Which is so fucking, it's so ridiculous.
It's
so
really
funny.
ridiculous, yeah.
It's so funny. That was awesome. It's so awesome. Oh, and the hate on Rocket was definitely it was definitely interesting going into it. Because it was early on. You're like there was some animosity, definitely for sure in the Rocky character, and it was definitely like, all right, he's gonna be the element or whatnot, and I just felt bad. I was like, oh no, man. I mean, like obviously he stole the batteries and kind of screwed him.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
like to be fair, you're running with Rocket. Are you really surprised? Like
You gotta kind of expect it, yeah.
It's on you at this point, right? Hasn't he already done this before? Like, hasn't this already happened before? Like something similar in the past? I've been trying to like run through like him just doing something that runs across the groups, you know.
Yeah.
Or either way, like, is it really surprising for that character to do that? Like, I think it's on you.
Yeah,
it's
on brand a little. It's definitely on brand for Rocket to definitely do something like that.
Yeah. So that was like interesting or whatnot. But yeah, I guess I do want to just say I love the tone of this movie, man. I mean, I probably already said it and clearly already shows this, but the tone of the movie is awesome. The sarcasm.
Yeah.
But like I said, the actual depth, the true depth of like where, you know, the characters when they say something has meaning. You know, there's weight to what they say, and it does a lot of balancing of sarcasm, and then real feelings.
Yeah.
Whereas like I don't want to. You've seen Deadpool before, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna say Deadpool is like has no meanings or whatnot, but it's clearly sarcastic, like and it's like it's so sarcastic. But that's what it's supposed to be, obviously. But just because it is what it is, I feel like it doesn't lack. It just kind of isn't able to catch up on the the depth and that I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy gave me. I felt really whole, watching this.
It pulled a very like happy middle ground for that kind of like viewing experience for people.
Yeah, which is awesome. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
We're talking about superheroes here and whatnot. I'm not saying it's like expect that, but like this is like I feel like it's a good movie in terms of just like the actual elements of characters. It's a very entertaining movie, superheroes and all that, and it's really just good. It's just really, really I felt just like I said, all the characters, all the stories align or they don't align, but you're left with like good question marks. It's like That was a question mark, by the way. That's C. I don't know why I did that.
You got good questions.
Yeah. Don't question it. But I mean, is there anything like you, I guess, want to touch on? Like, is there anything like you particularly you want to touch on?
I mean, I think that scene. So when they're inside, like you obviously learn what Ego's intentions were. Of he went and had sex with every life form to create a child who could carry his abilities, and Star-Lord is the only one who could live through being half god.
Yeah.
Which I think obviously shows the character's strength. But I think just seeing that scene where they're inside, they're finally going to learn they're going to destroy him. And Yondu and Rocket come in, they're all working together to take him down. And I love, you get to see Mantis fight, and she's like putting a whole planet to sleep. You see her powers of being able to like knock a Celestial out, basically.
Which is insane. It goes, which now that I understand like I understood what a Celestial was or whatnot, but now you give me kind of insight into it's like a they're gonna be coming back or whatnot. Mantis's character definitely elevates because like you said, her power is like it's very interesting what she can do. It's awesome. Yeah. And then what you're talking about too, we get to see. I think we talk about so much on this podcast. It's very easy to gloss over. We get to see Star-Lord's true powers. Like, it's crazy. We have to see where and it's kind of a question mark because he doesn't know what he holds really. Right? His abilities, we know what to an extent, but we don't know what he can do.
Yeah, throughout this, because at the end, like his whole power came from the planet. When they destroy Ego finally, he loses all his those abilities.
Yes.
But the fact that Ego says himself, like, he can hold an Infinity Stone in his bare hands and not die.
Yes.
Like, there's so much that we don't really know of what he can do. Like, could he hold all the Infinity Stones? Like, how far can this character go? Like, what else can he do? And I think hopefully we can learn a lot more of that in, like, future movies and stuff.
I didn't even think about that, honestly. That's a really good point. Because, like, I mean, I don't I don't know too much into the character of Thanos, but I know that's what it seems like he's trying to do,
Yeah.
get them all. And so it's like there's like it's interesting because like goes back I guess into the human character because it's like one of the most actually it's not the most human superhero because we have Iron Man and
Yeah.
Ant-Man and all,
Yeah.
but like it's one of the human superheroes, or heroes, and he's gonna be the one that's or human, but like he's gonna be the one that's also seeking, maybe quote unquote seeking these stones, or has the ability to hold. It's very interesting. Yeah, like you
Yeah.
were saying, we're going forward. I'm excited because there's gonna be a 3, right?
They've announced a third. I don't know how far they're into it because I know James Gunn's coming back, but he was just doing that new Suicide Squad movie.
Okay.
So I don't know how far they would have gone on it. Except I'm sure he's still working on Suicide Squad and not, or maybe in spare time starting to work on the script. I don't know, but they've announced a third, which I'm assuming just kind of jumping to the end credit scene that we get to see the Sovereign are creating somebody named Adam, who in the comics is Adam Warlock. And I'm assuming would be the villain of Guardians 3. We don't fully know because that doesn't come. This Sovereign don't come back through the rest of this, like the Marvel movies we have. So I'm assuming in Guardians 3 they're going to be a thing. Adam Warlock's going to be a problem, and I feel like that's going to be kind of how it goes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the Adam part because didn't understand where I was going. I didn't know if it was I don't know if it was like a play on like Adam and Eve,
Yeah.
or whatnot. And I was like, I don't. I mean, yeah. So okay, that makes more sense.
It's a reference to a character named Adam Warlock who I don't know a whole lot about. I know of the existence. So when I saw the movie and they said in theaters, I leaned over to my girlfriend. I was like, I think they're talking about Adam Warlock. But yeah, they did a good job of like leading that in and kind of hopefully expand the universe even more. I know it was kind of a rocky thing of like, is James Gunn coming back? We talked about in the first Guardians of the Galaxy if he was going to come back for any of them with the whole issues he ran into bringing back past tweets when he was part of the Trauma group. But I mean, I'm excited for it. I mean, I love this movie, and I'm excited to see what they do, because especially since, I mean, you haven't gone through Endgame, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I mean, there's a lot of elements that are added onto their characters that I think are going to be really cool to see moving forward.
Okay. That's exciting.
Yeah, I also just want to touch, toward the end, we get that amazing, sweet scene when, so obviously, Yondu sacrifices himself for Peter.
Yes. And Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, we just.
I wanted to say that before the end of the podcast.
I love it. Yeah, he's coming down with the arrow.
Is he cool?
Yeah, you look like Mary Poppins. Is he cool? He's the coolest. And he's like, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
So good. But yeah, sorry. Yeah, go back and
and he gets, even though, so he is having trouble with the rest of the Ravagers, like Sylvester Stallone's character. But I like that they still held that Ravager funeral for him, because Rocket reached out to the Ravagers and said what he did, that he'd sacrifice himself to save the universe.
Yeah.
And so that Ravager funeral scene is like so sweet. It reminds me a lot of kind of when you and I were talking about Thor: The Dark World, when Freya dies, and they have that sweet funeral scene for her and on Asgard.
I definitely know what you're getting at, but I know you weren't. I think you agree with me on this point. The death of Yondu and his funeral is like, obviously, what was her name? What's
Freya?
his name? Freya, yeah. When she died, it was obviously like very sad or whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was like her death or her.
Yeah, it didn't hold the same weight. Is weird.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know. I know you weren't saying that, but I just do want to touch on that because it's really cool how that happens, right?
Yeah.
His Sylvester Stallone's character, he's like tells him, you were ousted, man, and this is on you. You'll never get the funeral and all this. Like, it's like I was getting teary-eyed, man, and like this is when you really start feeling for Yondu, I feel like, and and also Rocket doesn't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Just let it, yeah. Could he, like, this all happens because Rocket's, not only because Yondu does it, but because Yondu and Rocket have that relationship or whatnot, and they're able to kind of balance each other out, maybe almost look each other in the mirror in the same, or use each other as a mirror in a weird way. It gives some reflection and some insight into like how they can handle themselves, and that was like so huge for the character of Yondu, and it's really cool to see for Rocket too, because like I said, didn't have to do that. He called his old buddies and was like, hey, this is what he did.
Yeah.
This is and I'm vouching for him, and it's really heartwarming to see that. Like his death was obviously I was sad. I was really sad when he died. I was like, damn,
Yeah,
man.
definitely.
Like, and then going in the first movie, I didn't think I would care too much about Yondu, or or care as much I felt, about Yondu's
Yeah.
death or whatnot. But no, it was definitely or it was beautiful. I'll say that. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
And just seeing all the different like other Ravager groups, which we got some cameos here. I'm looking at it. Apparently, I didn't know this. I have to go back and watch this end scene again. Miley Cyrus plays one of those people at the Ravager funeral.
Does she really?
Apparently, she's like in obvious like hardcore makeup, but she plays a character called Mainframe. Which I don't know if that's true. IMDb says that's true. I gotta look at it now.
Is it one of Sylvester Stallone's like group? Is it when they're showing like the individual
yeah
that helped
so
out? Okay.
This was Stallone. So it says Stakar, who's Stallone's character, honors Yondu's sacrifice performing his own team, which is a character's. The cameos of the actors are Michael Rosenbaum, Ving Rhames, Michelle Yeoh, and Miley Cyrus.
Interesting.
Which now I gotta go back and like look at that again.
Yes. I mean, luckily it's a very recognizable short scene and whatnot. I can just look at it really quickly because I can just. I never noticed that. I didn't notice that at all. Interesting. Okay.
And we also then we get the scene with Adam Warlock, but I like the scene where Groot's a teenager now at the end of this one. And Peter goes in and he's like stepping on leaves and he's like, Jesus. Yeah. I'm Groot. He's all like teenager and like angsty. I love it. I love Teenage Groot.
No, Teenage Groot was awesome. And then obviously, and Star-Lord makes the funny comments like, now I know how Yondu felt.
Yeah, exactly.
and that's really cute though. But that's really again, and I think it comes back to my point again where it's like not like everything that is said in this movie. It comes back to actually have some like wait, because it's like it's funny and yes, it's a very funny quick thing to say, but just before we did like 10-15 minutes prior, or maybe a little bit, maybe 20, maybe 30 minutes, you're having Chris Pratt's character realize that Yondu's character was really the real true father figure in his life. So it's kind of like, it was cool. Yeah. It's cool. So it was so easy for him to just say that off the cuff because that's the reality. The reality was Yondu was like the real father in his life, and it's cool. Another, I think, a very cool little beautiful comment that was freaking funny.
Yeah, that's great. And then I think the last thing we get is Stan Lee's cameo with sitting there with the Watchers, just chilling, discussing his past adventures, his past cameos. Which
who were they're Watchers? I don't know who those people were.
So they're the Watchers. They basically watch over the universe and making sure that everything is going like according to like I think some like cosmic plan.
Okay.
And
am I supposed to know who they were?
No, it was more of like a fan service for like comic fans.
Okay, I was like, I don't remember these guys.
No, they're more fan service. Apparently, so they announced at Comic-Con last year, a little over a year ago, that they're gonna do a show called it's an animated show called What If.
Okay.
And it's gonna be narrated by one of the Watchers.
Okay, interesting.
So the premise of that show is animated, but all of the actors who play like Robert Downey Jr. is gonna come back to voice Tony Stark and stuff.
Okay.
And it's based off a series of comics of what if Captain America joined Hydra instead of S.H.I.E.L.D. Or what if Iron Man didn't make it out of the cave. Or like, so like stuff like it's all based off like what if things didn't happen. And it's going to be super interesting. I want to see it because there's this whole series of comics about it. I never read them, so I want to.
Yeah.
But it's like a group of like different what if scenarios. And it's going to be animated based off what if certain events from the Marvel Universe had never happened or happened differently.
That's very interesting. That's really cool.
Yeah,
that's
so
really cool.
The Watchers are supposed to be like narrating it. I'm not sure exactly what the relationship for their character is going to be, but it should be interesting.
Okay, that's really cool. Look forward to on that.
Yeah.
I mean, they just keep expanding on this ever expanding universe.
Yeah, exactly. Which that last point I want to go into is something we skipped over.
Okay.
We didn't talk enough, I feel, about Taserface. Taserface!
How can you forget to talk about Taserface?
He's the most ridiculous character. He starts this uprising, and Rocket just so easily gets in his head. Like, you wake up in the morning, and you thought, you'll be a really kick-ass name, Taserface! And everyone's just laughing at him, and no one can take Taserface serious anymore. I think it's hysterical.
Well, I think it's also great because it's just like, it clearly wasn't like Taserface that started the takeover. It was Nebula that was responsible, right? And so it's like, it was really funny to see like, all right, I guess Taserface is going to take credit for this, and Nebula's kind of chilled, and she clearly was smart enough and was like letting it all unfold or whatnot. But it was like, all right, man, you clearly did not see how you had a fractional part in
Yeah.
how you took over that. I guess you were there, but okay.
Yeah, which I just couldn't end this show without saying Taserface at least 3 times.
No, yeah, I do want to say one thing very quickly before we end.
Yeah.
Peter's last name.
Quill?
Yeah.
What about it?
It's it's very it's very like a synonymous, but like to Yondu's character. He has an arrow, quill, like a
interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah. That's not.
Oh, that's an interesting connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be on purpose. I would feel like that's.
I never thought of that though. That's interesting.
Because like it's definitely in your face a little bit, or what he calls him Quill too. He calls him
Quill. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think it's a good thing I definitely. It's one of the points I wanted to leave. Not leave on, but I wanted to say where I left. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to go over before I go into the beer?
Give me a sec.
Yeah, no worries.
LOL Zune was it an HD? We don't know. I think it was an HD. We'll find.
Was it?
I don't know. I wanted an HD actually. I'll admit to that one. You can that can be a blooper. I don't know.
We'll keep it in.
Oh no. I'm sorry guys. I'm so sorry. I had you on it for so long, for almost an hour, and then I came in and I was like, I'm a Zune guy.
Some people are. We don't discriminate Zune people here.
Hey. Well, but yeah, we touched on everything, man. This was. I just want to say at the end. It was great. It was a great movie. I really enjoyed the dynamic of it, and it was something that when I watched the first one and leading up to this one, I was really like enjoying my time. Where there's times I think in this universe where things get stagnant in a way. It's definitely that can happen. It's a large universe, man. It's there's a lot of stories that are set up, and it's not its own fault if we talked in the past, right? This was an awesome culmination of a lot of stories,
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I just want to say, hey, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course.
I said I think 2, 7, 8 times. I don't know. I'll say endless times. I appreciate you having me on, brother. It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, anytime. I'm just gonna go to the beer real quick and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, for sure.
So, real quick, this is called Galaxy by Octupi Brewing. It's really pretty cool can. So Octupi Brewing is in, let's see, Waunakee, Wisconsin. Okay. Yeah, Waunakee, Wisconsin. And so Octupi Brewing is really interesting. So the way they do it is they're a contract beverage company. So what you do is if your company wants a beer with like their branding on it and stuff, and like let's say like a Comically Incompetent wanted a beer, we would go to them and they would create a Comically Incompetent branded beer. They would brew it, they would create it, and they would put the logos on it, and you could work with them to do it. It's really interesting. We never had anything like this before on the show. So I don't know what Galaxy was for, but it's really good. It's an IPA. It's a 5.5 alcohol by volume. And if you live in Wisconsin or Waunakee, Wisconsin, they are open for takeout. You can order online and then go pick it up from the brewery, which the brewery is stunning. Oh my God. That's like, it reminds me a lot of Avery Brewing in Boulder.
Okay.
It reminds me a lot of that building. That building is so cool.
A lot of open space and just like kind of just like modern, but still kind of not rustic feel maybe, but it's cool.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it if you're in Wisconsin. I got this at a place called High Times in Costa Mesa, California. So I would check them out if you can get a hold of it in your liquor store, or like a specialty kind of beer store. I'd definitely check them out. Super worth it. I don't know what Galaxy was for, if it was for a company or if they brew it themselves, but definitely check them out. And thank you guys so much for watching. Kris, thank you for being here. And guys, don't forget we're on YouTube if you want to watch the video version. Comically Incompetent. Go check us out. Like, subscribe, all that junk that everyone tells you on YouTube. But go listen mostly on, click bells, buttons, likes, whatever. We're also on all platforms now for podcasts. Whatever you want to listen to podcasts on, we are on there now. We're not just Spotify and Apple Podcasts anymore. We've grown. We've adapted. So please check us out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And Kris, just for the 100th time, thank you for being here. We'd love to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Well, I just wanted to say, I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
We're going to leave on that. All right, see you guys next week.
See you.